like to call the December 14th, 2022 meeting of the Creeks Restoration and Water Quality Improvement Citizens Advisory Committee to order, and welcome everyone. And can we please conduct our roll call?
Thank you. We have Ms. Owens,
Present.
and we have Ms. Heller,
Present.
Mr. Klein,
Present.
and Chair Gaskin.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is an action item, approval of our minutes from October 26, 2022. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Happy to second.
Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please so note by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. That has been passed. And I'll turn to Cameron Benson. Any agenda adjustments?
No adjustments, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment requests? Okay, very good. Any committee member or staff comments, communication?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Then I will begin with our business items, and the first is Jen Hollywood with our NOAA Ocean Guardian Ambassador Program.
Just take off one hat and put on. Good evening. So I am Jen Hollywood, and I am the Creeks Administrative Specialist during the day, and I am super lucky that I was able to, in the afternoons, take over the Ocean Guardians program at Adams Elementary School. And so today, we're going to talk a little bit about this. The NOAA Ocean Guardians program is supported by the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation and coordinated out of NOAA's Office of National Marine Sanctuaries. The program supports hands-on ocean stewardship projects in K-12 public, private, and charter schools. Eligible schools can apply for small grants from $1,000 to $4,000 to carry out their own school or community-based conservation projects that make a difference in the health and protection of their local watersheds and or the world's oceans. So it's an opt-in program. It's not directly run through the schools. It's run as an after-school program. It can, once you can either participate with funding, which means that you actually apply for the grant and you let them know what your service project is going to be, and then your program is kind of designed around that. But there's a lot of freedom involved to kind of design the program to meet your needs. We like to do a lot of off-site fun things, and you'll see some of that, and then we kind of balance that with what we do on site. You can also participate without grant funding. Any school, as long as you have someone to head up your program, can participate, and if you reach certain criteria, then your school gets to be acknowledged as an Ocean Guardian school. And each year that you achieve this, you're given a banner to display at your school. So, and you can use that term to refer to your school as an Ocean Guardian school. And Adams is in there. This is our 8th year of being an Ocean Guardian school. And then this is just kind of some information that they have regarding how they value out the program over time. This is between 2019 and 2020. And they did a formal study of the Ocean Guardians program and reported that 66% of Ocean Guardians school parents reported that their students are now talking to others about the environment with family, friends, and in their community. Roughly 80% of parents thought that the program positively influenced their child's perception of watersheds, ocean ecosystems, and our natural world. In addition, about 2/3 of parents thought their own perception of watersheds, ocean ecosystems, and our natural world was positively influenced through the child's participation in the program. The study also reported that parents saw noticeable benefits to their child's commitment to the environment, volunteerism, experience working in teams, and an increased sense of community. So we started off this year with a kickoff event during Creek Week in October, and we did some storm drain marking. Adams School had recently re-asphalted the whole upper playground, and I noticed that there were no storm drain markers on the storm drain inlets there. So we went out and we did that as kind of our one-day kickoff event. And then this is from a recent Botanical Gardens field trip that we took. We got to explore their new Outback area that is super fun. And then before I go to the next slide, we have a couple of our Ocean Guardian ambassadors here that are going to talk to you about their involvement in the program. And we're going to start with Sophia Loaiza, who just so happens to be my daughter. And she's going to come and tell you a little bit about our program.
Ocean Guardians is a fun, awesome program filled with field trips and excitement for all ages 30 and up. It has activities to do while helping the earth. It's important to keep our ocean clean and nice because soon there are going to be more trash in the ocean than fish in the ocean. A ton of fishing nets are getting trapped on turtles. Everything that we do in our watershed is affecting the ocean and the fish and sea life inside of it. I really enjoy being an Ocean Guardian.
Thank you. Sophia is in 4th grade, and our program this year, no, you're in 4th grade. Our program this year has 3rd through 6th graders. And then actually before I get into this, I'm gonna bring Ian up, and he also is gonna tell you a little bit about his involvement in the program.
Hello, I am Ian Garcia. This is my 2nd year being an Ocean Guardian ambassador for Ocean Guardian. Ocean Guardians is a program about protecting the ocean for the future. We do this by doing activities and experiencing different ways to help the environment. Some of my favorite activities were kayaking, full moon hike, beach cleanup, and going to Santa Cruz Channel Island and removing invasive plant species. We learned about how plastics like straws endanger the ocean by visiting the ocean watershed. That's why I really enjoyed the beach cleanup and the Santa Cruz trip. Being part of Ocean Guardians has been a great experience. We have to continue to do our part so we can continue to enjoy the many beauties of Santa Barbara. Thank you.
Ian, what grade are you in? I'm in 5th. So Ian is a 5th grader this year, so he'll get one more year to do Ocean Guardians. And so here I just have some pictures. There's a little more information in the staff report, but we are lucky that at Adams, we are adjacent to the Santa Barbara Golf Club, where the city's Creeks Division did a pretty awesome restoration over there. The bioswale on Adams was part of that original project, and so at the time, it was kind of a way to link the outfall there onto our project. Over time, you can see by the photos that there have been some non-native invasives that have kind of popped up, and it's getting a little overgrown there. You can also see in the bottom left that our interpretive sign that we created, I believe it was covered at some point with plexiglass, probably to protect it, but it's actually caused it to get even harder to read over time. So as part of our grant funding for this year, we're going to do some restoration over here at the bioswale. Part of it will be up on this end, removing some of the non-natives and hopefully reprinting and getting that sign reinstalled so that it can kind of be a little more useful. And then on the other side of the bioswale, it actually borders the part of the playground on the upper campus. And because of that, it gets a lot of use of kids running through. So part of our goal for this year's project is to create some kind of artistic way of kind of notifying people that this is something bigger than just, some dirt at the end of the playground. So an idea that we have is we're going to work with the art teacher to create some little stepping stones, and I'm going to let the kids help design them that in a way that will kind of reference this connects to something bigger, and this is kind of the ocean but higher. So that way it's not intrusive to their play, but it's a good reminder rather than a sign or a fence or something like that. We just kind of want to make sure that they're keeping it in the front of their minds when they're up in that area. And it'll also kind of help them connect that to the other area of the bioswale. And then here's some pictures. Each year we end the program with a trip out to Santa Cruz Island, where we work with Channel Islands Restoration to remove some invasives, like Ian said. In the middle is a picture of me and Diego, who is now in 7th grade and was an ocean guardian for multiple years. And my big cheesy smile at being out at Santa Cruz for the very first time. So thank you guys for your time. We were excited to share this with you, and if you have any questions, hopefully I can answer them for you.
May I just make a comment? I wanted to say thank you to the students who came today and for your participation. It's really wonderful, including an alumni, I think. Diego, you're an alumni, right? So thank you so much.
Other comments? Please.
I just want to extend that thank you to the students for being here, and thank you for your work learning about your local watersheds and how they connect out to the ocean. And thank you, Jen, for taking on leading this program at Adams. I've actually had the fortune to partner with them through my role at Channel Keeper, and it's been great to see the students from year to year and just see how much knowledge, and you're like an honorary, this isn't even your first year, because I've been with you on field trips for Ocean Guardians in the past, so it's so great to see how much the students learn from doing it year to year, and just, thank you, it's great.
And I want to express appreciation, Jen, to you and to all the students. You guys are amazing, and you inspire us. You're our future, and you can become, the person who's sitting at the end here who oversees all of this wonderful work that we do to protect our creeks and our oceans. So great job, students. And we hope you continue with your passion and your interests. And Jen, thank you. This is a side of you I didn't realize, and it's pretty awe-inspiring, so thank you.
Thank you so much. And I wanted to make a special thank you to Penny, because she is awesome, and she partners with us, and so we're looking forward to more fun this year.
Is Adams the only one in the district that participates in this program?
I believe there are more schools in California than anywhere else. Obviously, they are kind of like in bulk in areas that are closer to the National Marine Sanctuaries. Santa Barbara, I believe at least 2 other schools that participate. There's probably more that I don't know about. But part of one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of highlight this here is because it is a program that you have to opt into, but a lot of schools don't know about. I didn't know about it until I heard about it at our school. So kind of hopefully getting the word out so that more schools can opt in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you to our committee member, Penny, for engaging the community with all of this. Okay. Next is item B, which is our fiscal year 2022 Water Quality Research and Monitoring Program Summary, and I'll turn to Cameron Benson to invite the presenter up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, Dr. Jill Murray, who is our water quality research analyst with the Creeks Division, is going to present for you the results of our FY22 research and monitoring program.
Thanks, Cameron. And while I'm standing here, I also want to thank the students for doing such a great job. And I've given a lot of talks up here. I have never had an applause when I'm done, so you did a really good job.
We'll rectify that today.
So I am going to go over the research plan that we set in place for FY22, or the background for it, because we did make some major changes, and there's some people in the audience that don't know exactly what we do, and then give some updates more on our efforts than our results for some of our different components, and finish up with our next steps. So at the beginning of FY22, we said, you know, we've been doing this 20 years, let's kind of stand back, look at what we've done, and we did alter our purpose, goals, and then our actual sampling strategies. The purpose of our program is really ultimately to have a science-based approach for as much as we can of what we do, our programs and our projects. And the question that we get asked the most, and one of our main goals, is water quality improving over time? We also always want to communicate effectively with the public about water quality. That includes for recreational purposes, but also so they can understand what's going on with the ecosystem as well. And then what we've added for this year, the FY22, was understanding the role of climate change and sea level rise in altering creek conditions. Because we've talked about it, we've looked at the effect of the drought on rainfall rates and creek flow and bioassessment, and even some shallow groundwater levels, but we never had it. We were sort of reacting, and I don't think any of us expected things to change as quickly as they did. And so now we've really got it locked in that this is fundamental to what we're going to look at moving forward. So then our specific goals are to assess pollutants. So that always is, you know, thinking about what we should even be testing for. And then once we have our results, whether that's concentration or load that we're discharging to the ocean, how impactful is that? How harmful is that? And we're usually comparing those numbers to known ecotoxicity thresholds or benchmarks or recreational criteria. And then once we know we have a problem, trying to go upstream or use, find it, get rid of it, use education programs to get rid of it. Always trying to evaluate creeks division projects. We added implementing hydrologic models of creeks in order to understand the effect of climate change on flow. There really is very little baseline data across the country, but especially in our area for understanding this. But we do have over 100 years of rainfall data. So if we can get better models going, and we haven't even started this yet, this is kind of a forward thinking, then we can have a better understanding of how things are changing. We've also, as we do more and more infiltration and less treatment, we want to understand, you know, how that water is infiltrating and moving into the creeks. That also is more forward thinking. We don't have that going yet. And then where feasible, evaluate the effectiveness of city programs such as street sweeping, and I'll talk more about that, and outreach and reducing pollutants. We always are evaluating long-term trends. We have at different times different requirements for grants. We have our general permit required monitoring. We have every 2 to 3 years, we are given a new list of which water bodies the State Water Board and the EPA consider impaired for different pollutants, and then those pollutants are always in combination with some beneficial use. So it could be bacteria for human or nutrients for organisms. And so we're always assessing their assessment and deciding which things we need to really pay attention to, or which things we might write back and say, we don't really think this is a problem. And then always trying to stay up to date with contemporary tools and statistical techniques. So now going into what we did in FY22, we completed all of our sampling for our general permit required monitoring. That's outfall testing, our sampling for our 303D listed water bodies, and some special studies that the Water Board requires that we sample for. That's actually all calculations at this point. We completed all of our long-term monitoring. This is mostly our biweekly indicator bacteria and kind of field parameters testing in a lot of different water bodies, and our project assessment for the Bird Refuge, Arroyo Burrow Open Space, Barger Canyon, and the planters. And all of those, we're still kind of collecting multiple years of data before because we have to have, you know, many storms before we can really understand if they are improving water quality. We completed all of the sampling for our Laguna watershed source tracking that we had planned for the year. So that was done in dry weather. We sent off the samples for chemistry to be tested by a company called WEC. And then we had a contract with Dr. Holden at UCSB to look at our DNA-based markers. I know this is really complicated, and I'm not going to go into any of it. I just don't have time in this talk. But we've gotten the results back from both of those, and we're still analyzing them. And there'll be a summary of the results in the upcoming report. And then our next step is to conduct storm monitoring. We haven't really been able to do much storm monitoring with the DNA-based markers that UCSB tests for, but with Natalie Tees, who's on board as our code enforcement officer and water quality monitor, she has a lot of lab experience, and what she has brought now to our capacity is we can collect these samples for the DNA testing, but we can filter them. And even though it's fairly easy once you know how to do it, it's really not something we were going to hand to anyone who hadn't had this experience in a molecular lab before. And so now we can do that, and we can store those frozen filters that have all of the molecular DNA material on them almost indefinitely. And so that way we can, for storm sampling, we could not really work with UCSB to have them out storm monitoring. They didn't really have the capacity to do that. We do. And now we can collect and store those samples. And so this is opening a new chapter that I'm really excited about. For microplastics, this is one of our newer angles. As a reminder, and the Ocean Guardians probably learned about this down at the Watershed Resource Center, but microplastics are they're plastic particles or fibers or fragments that are less than 5 millimeters in size. So some of them are microscopic, some of them you can see with your naked eye, and some you can just see under a pretty, like a magnifying glass. We are taking what I have come to believe is a very unique angle in asking whether street sweeping can help reduce the runoff of microplastics into storm drains and creeks and to the ocean. And so there was a small grant that we had from the Associated Students Coastal Fund at UCSB. We completed all the sampling for that. That included collecting runoff in the creeks during storms and dry weather. We collected material from the street sweeper itself, and then also from what was left on the street after the street sweeper went by. And UCSB has done a lot of the work. They've been very quantitative. We have quantitative results about all of the microplastics that are found in creek water, which is discharging to the ocean. And so far, it looks like there's actually a little bit less than some of the other areas that have been published about. And I do wonder if part of that is our very aggressive street sweeping program, relatively. But we don't have the quantitative results yet. So on the bottom right panel here, you can see some of the microplastics that were collected from the hopper of the street sweeper. And then below that, you can see some of the particles that were collected from the street. And so you think about this big truck, and we're finding matching particles. We actually matched that color specifically to some of the weed whacker cord that is sold. And you know, we live in a wonderfully well-gardened community. There is a lot of weed whacking. And so this summer we applied for a collaborative grant from NOAA's Sea Grant Marine Debris Competition. And we're the PI, but we partnered with UCSB, we partnered with street sweeping industry experts, and the best researchers in the world on this topic from San Francisco Estuary Institute and Southern California Coastal Water Research Project. And so it was really informative just putting the grant application together. We'll find out after the holidays whether we get funded. Whether we get funded or not, we have established a partnership with one of the parties in our grant application, and that is the Southern California Stormwater Monitoring Coalition. They already had this really well-designed and funded study to look at the effect of street sweeping on several other pollutants, and we are adding the microplastic component. And so that will happen whether the grant is funded or not. We have also our newer beach swimming risk project, and again, this is a really complicated topic that I'm going to summarize in one sentence. all of the previous work that we've done is suggesting that there's really no to low health risk from swimming at Santa Barbara beaches. And that's based on, a lot of research done by UCSB in partnership with us. But now we're going, the final step really is to say what pathogens are out there and how can we really calculate a health risk from swimming. And this is called quantitative microbial risk assessment. It's the first time that it's been done in Santa Barbara. If we were to find very low predictions of any illness rates, we then could possibly in the future go to the water board and say, can we then change our criteria for our beach warnings? Let's stop scaring people if we don't need to be. And so we sampled at 5 beaches on 4 different dates. Again, we were able to filter those samples, which this really helped our relationship with UCSB, and it's just, we get so much more bang for the buck with our contracts with them. And so they're conducting the laboratory analysis for the molecular markers, and then for the actual pathogens, we have a contract with Weston Labs. And then I wanted to finish up by talking about some recent outreach opportunities. It was just by chance that we had invited talks for 2 different water quality angles, but both kind of 20-year summaries of what we've done. And the first was at the State Water Board and CASQUA, which is the California Stormwater Quality Association. They came together. They're usually on opposing sides, and that's the regulators and the regulated. And they came together and they said, let's have a 3-day summit to see what do we know. I mean, we've learned so much about indicator bacteria and epidemiology and implementation projects and TMDLs. What have we learned, and what do we really mean when we say, is it safe to swim? And it was just one of the best things that I've had the opportunity to attend professionally. And our talk about everything that we've done, which is really like going up the storm drains and finding sources of human waste. We're the only ones that have done that. And it was really well received. There's, and like by the end of the talk, by the end of the summit, it was, how can we help communities do this, but without having them be punished regulatorily by still having their indicator bacteria high. And then the next one was the North Santa Monica Bay Watershed and California Watershed Network Conference on nature-based solutions. Cameron gave a talk talking about all of our restoration projects, and that was great. And then I followed by talking a little bit about the water quality. And by the time I was done with both of these, it made me really appreciate the Creeks Division and Measure B, and specifically that it was formed to not just improve creek and ocean water quality, but to restore natural creek systems. And that is so unique, and so much of restoration is sort of taken on just to improve water quality. And it's really hard to measure water quality improvements with restoration projects. It's a lot of stormwater moving through a small project in probably 20 to 30 seconds, and that is just not enough time to have all of that water be filtered or exposed to plant roots where nutrients can be taken up. It can work in really low flows, but not in stormwater. And so it just made me think about what, we have had the amazing privilege to accept that and then continue our water quality research and also build these restoration projects. But why do we even, why do we have some of the water quality regulations that we have? And this is a list of, this is jargony. Our beneficial uses are warm, cold, spawn, estuary, and recreation. Those are all habitat-based water quality standards. So we need the habitat. And so it just made me, we can value habitat in and of itself and then build the water quality improvements to support the habitat. And once we do have multiple projects across our watersheds, we should see some change. And it's so important to do this because the science and the regulations change. And if here's an example of a storm drain that was daylighted. And when I first came to the Creeks Division, the proposed project right next to this was to take a flow from Arroyo Burro and put it through UV disinfection. And we know now that that's absolutely the wrong thing to do. This is a map. We also put in some low flow diversions, thinking this is where we take the storm drain flow and we put it into a shunt that takes it over to the pipes that go to the sewage treatment plant. And then we learned that like we really didn't have the pollutants in some of those flows to justify it. And we really want that water in the creeks because that is so important for restoration. And this is in contrast to, this is a map of Santa Monica Bay. I didn't realize they had put 27 diversions into Santa Monica Bay to lower indicator bacteria numbers for beach water quality. And this map on the right shows like all the watersheds that are feeding into those diversions. And I just think at the mouth of each one of those watersheds is a potential estuary. We've lost so much coastal habitat. So even if we can't show improvements in water quality from a restoration project, we have improved water quality. We've improved restoration by not putting in certain water quality improvement projects. And that really just became so clear after giving both of those talks. So next steps are to complete the report and put that online, develop our next year's research plan, and carry out our, sorry, that should say FY23 plan. Carry out our current research plan, and I'll be back in June to give you another update, and I'll take any questions. Oh, thank you.
May I ask if we could get a little bit of a preview of what's next in the research plan?
I don't think that we will change anything. We just need to button up some efforts so that we can really dive into more of the audit. We're committed to increasing our automated sampling and flow gauges. You know, all of the loggers and automated equipment has come a long way in the last few years. It's gotten a lot more affordable, somewhat more dependable. It's still difficult. We need to really develop ways to manage the immense amount of data. You know, we're still kind of pulling data off each logger and having separate spreadsheets, and we need to have a much more streamlined system going forward. So I guess that you could say that's what's coming next effort-wise. But a lot of the timing of that will depend on this microplastic grant, because if that gets funded, that will take a lot of our time. Yeah, we're taking what we really did just like pilot scale testing. And if we're really gonna say if street sweeping can really lower microplastics, we're gonna have to have a lot more samples. And then also another part of that project is looking at some of the devices that go inside of storm drains that the water board really wants us to put in for trash reduction. But we're working with a group that is looking at whether those could actually trap trash and then generate microplastic. So that's really interesting.
Other questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you. You mentioned the DNA sampling, DNA-based markers, and the sampling occurring in FY23. I was curious how soon in FY23 you expect that to start?
Okay, thank you. We will be, so that's storm monitoring, and we'll be doing that after the holidays. And we wanted all the chances of, we want to understand what could be coming in off of the street surfaces versus what could be coming in possibly from groundwater. And so we wanted to wait until like the first flush and even the second flush has gone by, so that that's not confounding our understanding of our results. And then it gets really hard to sample over Christmas and New Year's. And so I'm really hoping we get some good rain events, some good daytime rain events in January and February.
Daytime weekday events.
Daytime weekday, yes, but not, yeah.
So can I cull from that need for daytime weekday, with all respect, that we don't have enough people who have this ability and learning to do this, and we'd love to find more? Is it a sense of, if I have more people who have this skill, I can gain more knowledge? Is that
That is
or-
a good question. For some of our projects, having more people can help, and we have done that before. We've had some volunteers, and we've had some teams, and anytime we're using teams, it's better to be going out in the daytime. But we've had people that have helped us in the middle of the night too. No, the reason we want daytime storms is because sampling in the middle of the night is really difficult, physically and mentally.
Yeah.
And what'd you say, Cameron? And dangerous. And more dangerous, yes. And so I can, if we have a daytime storm and I'm collecting samples from our planters, you know, Natalie or I can just go and collect those right across the street by ourselves. I wouldn't not have anyone doing that by themselves at night.
Great, thanks for educating the hotel guy about what you do, because he doesn't know, so
Well,
appreciate that.
I'm sure you have a lot going on in the middle of the night too, and it's just,
At times, that is true, absolutely.
yes, when you're laying in bed looking at the radar on your phone, your mind can play tricks on you and say, oh, I don't really need to get up, do I?
Fair enough.
I just wanted to comment, there's so many special, unique, and I'll call it brilliant aspects of this program. You had the legal wording for Measure B up there, and in that legal wording was creek restoration. So the foresight that you keep focusing on, which you can't do water quality singularly without looking at the watershed, and we, the collective we, had the foresight to acknowledge that with Measure B. Then to not only have these extraordinary projects on the ground that are truly making a difference, but to have the research arm, the research branch of the division is extraordinary. And your integration with all aspects of the program is a tribute to this program and this division, and also it goes without saying your passion and your expertise is, we so want to clone everyone and put them into other communities along this region of Santa Barbara County. But I wanted to comment on that, so.
Madam Chair,
Please.
thank you for that. And you picked up on something that is really nuanced and true. So Jill and I were asked to speak at the Santa Monica Watersheds Conference for that very reason. The city of Santa Monica, well, and this was LA County really, have passed multiple different types of tax measures to deal with stormwater things, and this specific group was created after a recent tax measure, I think, that was passed about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, with less clarity about that in the language. And so they really wanted to come up and see what we were doing, because they're building a lot of hard structure kind of treatment diversions, and they really wanted to hear more about what was going on up here, because they thought it was a better model. So that is important, and it does go back to when the city council originally put this on the ballot and the language that was drafted to go onto the ballot, and then subsequently after the measure was passed into the municipal code.
Really good point. Thank you so much, Jill. Your presentations are always so informative, and they certainly deserve the accolades and the applause every time.
You are always so kind and supportive, and you never need to applaud again.
Oh, we'll remember to do so now. Okay, thank you. Next is our Creeks Division transition into the Sustainability and Resilience Department, and I'll turn it over to Cameron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to notify the committee about some exciting changes happening within the city. The Creeks Division is going to be moving into, or really is in the process of moving into, the city's Sustainability and Resilience Department. And the Sustainability and Resilience Department was created about 2 years ago. It was originally created to really focus on the sustainability and resilience type work that the city is doing. Originally, it included the Environmental Services Division, which does trash and recycling, the Energy and Climate Division that has basically created a renewable energy program for the city and focuses on climate change. And it also included a sea level rise analyst, and that's where the kind of the focal point of the climate change and sea level rise adaptation is based within this department. And recently, the city administrator made the decision to move the Creeks Division and also the mobility coordinator, so there's a transportation element as well, into the department. And we're, like I said, in the process of of transferring from Parks and Recreation into Sustainability and Resilience, and we'll actually all be moving in together in January, and which will be really great. I think we have a lot of opportunities for synergy along the lines of community outreach and engagement, as well as code enforcement and many other issue areas where we have overlap. That doesn't mean that that sustainability and resilience won't be a focus throughout the city, and I think all the people in this department are available to work with other departments throughout the city on all of those range of issues. And I would like to introduce you to a special guest we have tonight. Alelia Parento is the director of the Sustainability and Resilience Department, and so I wanted to introduce her and invite her up to say a few words about where we're going.
We welcome you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
All right, well, thank you for having me. This was actually very informative. I'm so glad I got to see both the Ocean Guardian presentation, which now I want to bring that to my children's school, obviously, and Jill's research summary. That was really informative for me, too. And I think actually underscored this transition, right, why this is happening. The mandate of the Sustainability and Resilience Department is really resource protection for this generation and the future generations. And so the work that the Creeks and Water Quality Division is doing speaks to that mandate specifically, right? Protecting our community, providing a safe community. And that's the same work that the Energy and Climate Division is doing with its carbon neutrality goal and all the work it's doing around electrification, and then the Environmental Services Division around the circular economy and composting. So I think the three divisions align beautifully. And as Cameron underscored, there are some efficiencies to be gained, and not only efficiencies, but really a maximization of impact by bringing together some of our outreach functions, our policy development functions, and then our program development functions. And so I'm really excited about that. How that is going to manifest in the future is we're going to try and reorganize a little bit to really, again, maximize those impacts. So we're taking the outreach and code enforcement functions that live currently in sort of siloed divisions, and we're going to bring them together in a community engagement division. What I like about this is we currently have individuals going out to businesses or speaking at summits or to residences that are speaking on a specific topic, and they each go out as a specific touch point. And that may continue in some form when a certain client has a need, but we really have an opportunity here to provide a holistic outreach, a whole home plan, if you will, to address sustainability in your home, business, community. And so I'm really excited about that. We have stellar team members in all three of these existing divisions. And so I really have a lot of faith that this fourth division will thrive and really only add to the output of this department. We're all figuring it out as we go, and as Cameron mentioned, we're doing it very, very quickly, which is a little bit how I roll. And so, this is really exciting to me that it's coming together so fast. But I am here for questions if you want, or you're in good hands, obviously, with Cameron.
I have a question. So the congruence or the assimilation of the education and outreach part,
I love this handshake.
will that affect our education program in our Creeks division?
Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. It should not at all. In fact, it should only enhance it. We'll be making sure to assess what resources that division needs. It currently has two very, very capable people, both Liz in the Creeks division and then Brian Latchford, who you see here as Creeksman, in the Environmental Services division. And so pooling both of their exceptional expertise and then adding to their resources, I think is just going to enhance the outreach program.
Madam Chair, thank you. I wanted to congratulate you, first of all, on your appointment to be the director of this division, which is well-deserved.
Thank you.
Aleo has been working on so many great programs for years. It's been fun to watch you show up at city council meetings and make important presentations. And I think this is really exciting to have a more holistic engagement across the board. I think we have the chair of the City Council Sustainability Committee here as well. And this is such a dynamic part of our city's work. You know, we're environmental leaders, and we have been for a long time. And we're trying to do what's not happening at the federal level locally, and I'm really excited that you're there to take the lead on that. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Other comments? I have one final question. Is there anything specific that you need from us as the Creeks Advisory Committee?
Madam Chair, no, not currently. I think just keep doing the great work you've been doing. You know, the one thing about taking on the Creeks Division is they're such a well-oiled machine. It's not really a big lift for me to take them on, and I'm really excited to get more involved. We've already got some field trips planned that I'm really looking forward to. And so, no, not currently, but we'll make sure to let you know.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I just would like to bring up, there are some kind of procedural things. They won't affect the form or the function of the committee, but for example, when the City Council adopted a resolution establishing this committee, it talks about the Parks and Recreation staff writing all the staff reports for the committee and things like that. And well, we'd love to have them continue to do that, but we will do that. So we'll be working those things through, but they won't affect the committee.
Thank you so much. And I join my fellow committee member in welcoming you to your new role. And we look forward to participating with you in any way that we can. So thank you. No, never. This is good. Okay. And the last item of business is our 2023 regular meeting schedule, and that was attached. And I'll turn it over to Cameron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we're coming to the end of 2022 and starting a new year. And so as we do every year, we take a look at our regular meeting schedule. We're going to propose continuing to meet on the third Wednesday of every month at 5:30. Primarily here in the Gebhard Room or in the council chambers, depending on which was available in terms of conflict. And then I think there's just one exception to that third Wednesday rule in the coming year, and that's in December. We moved the meeting up to accommodate schedules. So we have the proposed meeting schedule, and then it is up to the committee to adopt.
So let's first have a motion, if we could, and then we'll discuss.
So moved?
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Discussion? Comments? It looks good. Okay, all in favor, please so designate with an aye.
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 And opposed? Abstentions. Okay, that codifies it. And we have completed our agenda, and we are ready to adjourn. So thank you all very much, and we will officially adjourn and then turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yep, we are adjourned for 2022. Thank you.